Welcome everyone to talk about graduation. We're just going to go through some really quick things. Graduation, for the most part, is the same as it has been in several years. That's a good thing about graduation. During COVID, everyone was still graduating for people, which is a great thing. So the first thing I want to start talking about is the IC graduation tab. This is one of the couple of parts that are really important for the cohort graduation rate, and really for everything. And there's three real main fields that you want to make sure that you get filled out properly. The diploma date. The diploma date should be the student's last instructional day, and you want to make sure that that diploma date is entered in for all graduates. If you don't enter them in for all graduates, when you look in the SDRR application, you'll notice that you'll have a student that has a G code, and that student is marked as not on time because guess what? We don't know when they graduated. So that's important to have that entered. The second thing is you want to make sure and have that diploma type. That's another time when you'll see SDRR will show you as not having a student as on time, even though they have a G code and they graduated on time. That your IC graduation tab has not been completed. So you want to make sure and go ahead and click that drop down and put the appropriate diploma code there. And if you have any customized diploma types, make sure and check your system administration manual to make sure that you map those properly. Now, how does a student get set? How does a student get set as what cohort they're in? Well, that is based upon this field called date first entered ninth grade. So you want to go in, and that's the first time that the student starts ninth grade, no matter where at, no matter when at. So if they started in a different state in ninth grade, you want to make sure that that date is properly set to when they started the ninth grade the first time. Now, if they've repeated ninth grade, it's the first time that they started ninth grade, you need to put that in there, and that will set the student's cohort. So that's when they should graduate. Now, the second part of the second parts that need to be put in is the student needs to have a G code put in as the withdrawal type and the withdrawal date. And there is some deadlines for that. If a student is in summer school, they can still be counted as last year's graduates as long as they have completed that summer school program by July 31st, and that the diploma date is before July 31st, and the G code was given before July 31st. They'll still get counted in that same school year. For students who complete for normal graduation, it's June 30th is when you should have that done. So if you don't have the summer school graduates as it had marked as a G code and diploma is given before July 31st, they'll still get counted as a graduate. They'll just get counted in the next graduation year. So that may make them show up as not on time for that first for their 4-year cohort, but they'll then be for their 5-year cohort, they'll be counted as on time. The dropout rate is completely separate from the cohort graduation rate, and that always confuses folks. The cohort rate is a longitudinal 4-year from the time that they start ninth grade to the time that they till they graduate or complete in some other way. For the dropout rate, it is a yearly report, and if at the end of that year they've not moved to homeschool, which is a W-20, they moved to a private school, if they've done a W-22 and actually enrolled in the other school, then they won't count as a dropout. So you want to make sure that when you have somebody who has a W-22, they said they were going to another school, that they actually show up in that school, because they'll still be accountable to you until they actually enroll someplace else. If they've withdrawn due to medical illness, which is a W-07, then they will not be counted as a dropout. If they're deceased as a W-08, then they'll not be counted as dropout. If they have a graduation, of course, they will not be counted as dropout. Your codes for your typical dropout is W24 and a W25. I know those weren't on the slide. I should have put those on the slide, but those are your typical codes for dropout. I think W24 is withdrawn, and we don't know where the student went to. And W25 is we know that they were dropouts. All right, diploma period. That was another another tab on another part of the IC graduation tab, and it always seems to cause a little bit of confusion on when they should set that and how you should set it. If you're a mid-year graduate, your graduation date is prior to January 15th of the current school year, then you mark it down as a mid-year graduate. For a spring graduate, this is when their graduation date is January 15th through the end of the school year. Okay, so that's the two different definitions of those. And that's all I have. Do we have any questions? Any questions in Go Soapbox? I'm not.
Yes, there are a couple questions. One of them is if graduation ceremony is 2 days later than the last day of school, still use the last day of school instead of the ceremonial date. You will want to use the last day of school.
Correct. You use the last instructional day.
All right. And then we have a graduate student with an end date of 12/17/21 as a mid-year graduate chosen on the graduation tab as a diploma period, but it's coming up on the state reporting ad hoc spring graduates with wrong diploma period. What could be the issue? And that might be something we need to reach out and actually work with this individual.
Correct.
I'm not sure if you can answer that question, David, or not.
That ad hoc report I don't know.
We've got one other question about, is paperwork required to be on file before the W25 encode is used?
There used to be the dropouts. They used to require that there was a dropout form that's completed that would be put into Infinite Campus. That is no longer required to be put in Infinite Campus anymore. So you need to keep that documentation there at your local school district, and then you can mark them down as a W25.
Thank you. So a couple things to encourage folks to do when they're doing their graduation and they're doing their statuses. Make sure you do all this before you do the transcripts, because the colleges will not take a transcript as final until it has both the graduation status on it and the graduation date. So if they get that, they'll just hold it in a holding tank waiting for another one. And sometimes the students will get frustrated because they think they've done what they're supposed to do to get the final transcript, but the school's not accepting it. Final transcripts this year can be requested all the way through August 30th, and the students do not have to pay, but it's really frustrating when they get into school, they don't have what they need, and they have to start paying for their transcripts. So please, anything you can do to help ensure that this gets done. There are some graduation reports out there that have some edit functionality on there for the end dates. I know that end statuses aren't necessarily David's thing, but there's some reports out in our reports repository that will help you review your graduates to make sure the end date's all there and the dates, and give you some edits if there's problems. So make sure you're looking for those. Go ahead.
If there's just a quick plug for if you have any other information or you need my contact information, if you go to the education.ky.gov website, you look under assessment and accountability, and then reports. There is the graduation listed there, and it has all the graduation manual, everything that you need. And then of course it has contact that you can contact our office and we can get any further questions. And so SDRR is open right now. So I know it's early for graduates because most of you have not put in your G codes, but that's good because you can at least see the students that are on your list and that you can go through and check to make sure that they're looking like they're set properly. So
one more quick question before we transition. If there's a spring or mid-year graduate, are they considered graduating in less than 4 years?
No, once they start that 4th year, then they're considered just an on-time graduate. They're not considered an early graduate, or anything like that. Once they start that year, then it's began.